welcome. I'm Debbie Marcum with Retirement Solutions Group. I'd love to welcome my co-host, the lovely Jaclyn Gladhill. How are you doing, Jaclyn?
Aw, I am great. We are now out of, or I guess on the mend, I should say, of this winter storm that we've gotten across the country.
Yes.
Minnesota got the cold, and Debbie, Tennessee got the snow. So tell us a little bit
We
about
did.
that.
Well, Tennessee got hit hard and then also very light in areas. I'm very fortunate that we did not get hard. We got dusting of snow and the cold weather and rain. It is supposed to get cold again this week, though. So I'm hoping that we don't have rain that's going to turn into ice. But Nashville got hit so hard. And I've been around the exploding trees when they freeze, and that is a frightening experience. So my prayers and thoughts are with my friends and family in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. And
So
my brother is also in Nashville, and he texted me this morning, did you see exploding trees? Because that was a thing for Minnesota, but no, and I'm a little disappointed I never got to see one. I still have yet to see an exploding tree.
it is. I didn't see a tree explode, but a tree in my backyard did explode, and it was in the middle of the night and was a frightening experience. And
Yeah.
it came very close to landing on my house. So it's uh, it's kind of frightening when you see it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Well, I mean, okay, then I should be thankful, right?
Yes, yes. Just
Yes.
watch videos of it.
Yes, it's been good. I mean, life's good. I'm still kind of in the nitty-gritty of wedding planning. So my wedding's in September, and now we're getting to the, you know, family arguments, I guess you could say. Those are bound to happen. So
Discussions.
yes, yes. Discussions about the guest list is where we've started.
It will be here before you know it. So enjoy it.
Yes. Well, how are you, Debbie, besides
I'm
the
doing well.
winter? Yeah.
I'm doing well, keeping pretty busy. Currently working on my next book. So hopefully by the end of the year that will be published. So
Well, that is so exciting. I
I
cannot
think so.
wait to hear about it and read. I mean, you're going to have to send me a copy of that.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Deal. Well, before we get into today's conversation, I just want to remind our listeners that they can listen to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. And you can also visit the YouTube page where you can see our beautiful faces. And there's a little shorts of us and just kind of snippets as long as the full video. So you're welcome to watch that, and we'd love for that. And we hopefully will post every week, and we've been pretty on top of it. We can't
You're pretty on top.
we can't miss each other that much, so we
No.
tend to do it every week.
I'll take a break in a couple of weeks and go someplace warmer, but just 1 week
Without
off.
me? What?
I'll fit you in my suitcase. How about that?
Oh, well, Debbie, I'm excited for this episode. This is the podcast, Retirement Your Way. And so it just seems right to do a podcast about a roadmap to retirement.
I
And
agree.
I think that that's a great, title and segue. But what does it truly mean, Debbie? What are we going to be discussing today?
Well, and when I meet with my clients, I always say, what do you want your money to do for you? What do you want retirement to look like? And just like if you're going to go on a trip, if you just head in your car and leave with no real direction, there's no telling where you're going to end up. You could end up spending more money than you wish. You could end up being someplace that you really don't desire. So I believe that our life kind of needs a roadmap as well. And so I think it's a good idea to plan for retirement. So today I'd like to go over a few questions that you might want to ask yourself so that you can map out what you anticipate, and I use the word anticipate, retirement to look like. And then I'll kind of segue of, okay, you've got this wonderful roadmap and then life happens. So we may
Yes.
have to develop a new roadmap, which is exactly what happened in my own life. But
Yes.
it is a good idea to go ahead and start off with a roadmap and have those discussions of what do you want retirement to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the first things to ask yourself is, what kind of activities do you anticipate wanting to do when you retire? And I will tell you from my own personal experience, retirement did not look anything like what I thought it would. and I failed badly at it.
So you mean you
So
actually wanted to retire, but now you don't ever want to retire, do you?
no, well, I mean, I did retire from my first career as an educator and just failed miserably at it because I believe I'm an educator at heart. And so I quickly shifted gears and started working in finance because I did not like not having the answers that I needed. So once I found out the answers, I thought, okay, I need to share those. So, but when you're thinking about retirement, picture yourself sitting at your kitchen table, mapping out what you're going to do for the week. What do you plan to do? And I discovered about myself that I like to keep busy. So just sitting and reading a book and relaxing all day was not a good plan for me at all.
Well, I mean, I
So,
I can also view that. I mean, I can see
mhm.
that with you, first of all. And second of all, I think it all comes down to the purpose, right? Your
Yes,
purpose in life. And, Debbi, for you, your purpose is to educate, help others, and, your purpose is to make an impact on lives.
I agree.
And, there's some purposes that might be their physique or your look or your fitness or your health. Maybe that's your purpose. Like I know
Yes,
my mom is very into holistic medicine, and so her purpose is now going to be teaching others, how to solve some holistic problems.
I love that.
And so it's all about what you want to do and what your purpose is, because in retirement you have to still have that purpose. And I think people don't
Yes, you
really
do.
necessarily think about that. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, we're going to leave work." But for how many years your work that you do is your purpose.
that's
So
right.
losing that, you have to have a backup purpose.
Yes, you do. I ended up eating words that I had I had taught my students for years, and that was, you know, only boring people get bored. So then I found out, ooh, okay, I'm going to have to eat those words because I became bored. Just not having a roadmap after retirement was not working for me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
so
switched
my
gears.
mom always said, if you're bored, get a mop, get a vacuum,
Yeah.
do something with your boredom. So, I mean, maybe you should get a mop and a vacuum, Debbie.
I have a housekeeping for that. Thank you very much.
That was so perfect.
so So when you're picturing retirement, one of the first questions, what activities do you plan to do?
Mhm.
Do you plan to write a book? Do you want to start a second career like I did? Do you want to go back and, learn a new language? That's
Mhm.
also something else that I'm doing because my daughter is losing her hearing. And so she's very concerned about being able to communicate with us down the road. So we are very slowly learning sign language. And so that if that ever happens, we'll be able to communicate with her
Mhm.
much more effectively. So, that's one of the activities that a life happens situation
Mhm.
brought about. But I think it's important to keep your brain active. It is always a concern of, okay, is Alzheimer's going to happen to us, because that's one of the leading issues with
Yes.
seniors. And so I think keeping your brain engaged is very important. Do you plan to read? Do you plan to travel? um,
Mhm.
that's huge, because you need to plan financially for those things.
Mhm.
If I mean, going back to school, that can cost money.
Mhm.
Writing a book can cost money. Those things can cost money. So your good financial advisor should help you along with those things. Talk about the goals that you plan for retirement. I wish to do this. What's the best way to make sure that financially we can do that?
Mhm.
Um,
And
one
I
of the
think
things. Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, I mean, I think, when you're talking about what you want to do in retirement, this is your final destination. Where are we going,
Yes.
basically, right? Where are we driving to? Where are we looking at the map and saying we want to go here, and why, right?
Yes.
And I think as a financial advisor, you are helping them fill their car up with gas, make sure that it's got a flat tire for emergencies. You are the one that helps them get prepared, but ultimately your client, and as viewers and listeners, you guys are the one driving, right? So you can have
Mhm.
help. and but you ultimately are in control.
Yes. And you need to use the help. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think I think people have some wonderful financial advisors that they're not utilizing the way they should. So, you should feel free to contact your financial advisor and say, okay, I would like to do this. Is it feasible? Can I afford to do this? If you're not real familiar with your finances and mapping out, your finances, that's a great place to start. And a good financial advisor can assure you, yes, we've planned for this. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's very important. And a good financial advisor is going to help you with that. One thing that a lot of people don't really imagine is who do you who do you plan to spend your time with? Because when you
Mm.
change careers, you suddenly are often exposed to not as many people. You're spending a lot more time with your significant other, your spouse, and that can create some issues and some tension.
Yeah.
So you need to have that discussion together. It's often a good idea if you both start hobbies together or start a new activity together, because just suddenly being together 24/7 after being gone 40 to 50 hours away from them every week can be traumatic traumatic for some people.
Yeah.
I mean, I for me it's wonderful. I love spending time with my family. But if you're not used to that, you need to plan for that. What are you going to do together? You may also need to develop new friendships because you're not exposed to to groups of people like you were in the past. So I
Mm-hmm.
encourage people to actually get involved in their communities, do volunteer work, get involved in your church, join the Rotary Club, do something with your time other than just spending it at home, because that's not healthy to only have one person in your life that you're hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
It especially is dangerous when your spouse is the only one that you're ever around. And then if you lose your spouse, you are suddenly truly alone. And I
Mm-hmm.
see that happen far too often. So I like to see that retirees are getting involved in their communities and volunteering or getting a second career. Several of my clients retired and discovered they did not like retirement either, and they've gone back and they're doing consultation. I have another new client that I've had for a couple of years that has started a brand new career at 60. And so watching her do that has been quite exciting, and she's revived. It has given her, a sense of purpose in life.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
a lot of people want to become healthier than they've ever been,
yes.
which
Mm-hmm.
is extremely important because healthcare costs are one thing that you really need to take into account when you're planning your retirement, because typically healthcare is more expensive the older you get. There tend to be more
Mm-hmm.
health issues. The cost of insurance can be higher. So that's another thing that you really need to consider. I
Yeah.
also want to mention that if you do start a new career, you especially need to meet with your financial advisor, because that can impact your Social Security. It can impact your taxes. So you need
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that it is being done in the way that is best for you financially,
Yeah.
because the last thing you want to do is start a second career and actually have it hinder you because it's not been handled correctly. So
Yeah. And last week, we did mention the taxes and how that's
mhm,
often overlooked. So that's huge to check in with your financial advisor because that can
yes,
affect a lot of things.
mhm,
And it's also important or maybe a consideration for you to talk with others around you, like
yes,
friends. When are they retiring? And I don't mean plan your whole plan and your retirement plan around them, but, if they retire, maybe it's time, right? I mean, let's
I agree.
enjoy retirement together. And I hope my dad's listening to this one, but I made an agreement with him that he will consider retirement once I start having kids.
Oh, I love that.
And so it's like talking with your financial or so your family, friends, all of those people because it could influence,
Mhm,
when the arrival time will be to that
I agree.
retirement destination.
We have several friends that would love for us to be completely retired because they'd love to
Mhm.
travel with us.
Yeah.
Um, So is travel something that you want to do? Those are definitely things that you need to plan for financially. Um, where do you want to live? A lot
Mhm.
of people end up moving. They end up downsizing, or they move to be closer to their children and grandchildren. So that's one of the questions. Where do I want to live when I retire? And especially if you downsize and suddenly you have finances that you haven't had, you need to make sure that those assets are placed properly. So those are all, very important considerations for you
Mhm.
to ask
Yeah,
yourself,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and go back and revisit those. But a lot of people choose to get healthier because
Mhm.
getting tough is not for the wimps. It's
Mm.
having a knee replacement or a hip replacement, or losing
Scary.
weight. uh, Losing weight is often, I mean, a lot of people end up losing weight when they're older,
Mhm.
because you just find out you feel better. It's a lot of people join gyms. So those can be
Mhm.
expenses that, on the onset can cost more money, but health wise, it probably ends up saving you money in the long run.
Yeah.
So I think those are good questions to ask yourself. Um, I think having an impact on your community is important. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Uh, how do you want people to remember you? And so I think volunteering, working for a nonprofit. I have two wonderful clients that started a nonprofit called Pause and Pray, and they take the dogs in with hospice patients and patients in nursing homes, and it has given them, such a sense of purpose, and they give back
Mhm.
to the community. But that's definitely an expense because they have taken on that role. And
Mhm.
so, in helping them plan for their finances, we've helped plan for, their nonprofit. And
Yeah.
so I love that.
Yeah, and I think to further our analogy a little bit here, when you travel somewhere and we're talking about our final destination being retirement, right?
Yes.
When we go on vacation and we travel somewhere, we don't just travel and have zero plan for when we get there.
That's right.
We plan out the travel too. We plan out what we're going to do there, how we're going to spend our time. And so it's so important to schedule, a routine for yourself in retirement. When you're at that final destination, yes, you could be sleeping until noon. Maybe that's what you want. But ultimately, coming up with a routine for yourself to stay busy so we're not bored, but
Mhm.
also, to have a sense of purpose, a sense of routine still. Because when you exit your working life and you enter retirement, that routine that was once there was scheduled around your work life all constantly for 40 plus
Yes.
years. So to exit that, that's going to be a huge shift.
Yes.
So coming up with a routine for yourself is so important.
I agree. Look to the people that are doing it right. So many of my retired clients are busier than I am some days.
Mhm.
They have an active social life. But they came up with a roadmap of what they want. Now,
Mhm.
having said that, going back to what I kind of alluded to earlier, that roadmap can completely change,
Mhm.
um, as mine did, because losing a spouse definitely changed what I thought retirement was going to look like.
Mhm.
Partly because my late husband did not like to travel. He was definitely a homebody. And so, what we had kind of mapped out suited his lifestyle beautifully. Um, and then when that happened, and, I had my life changed in an instant. My roadmap changed. I still am the
Mhm.
same person, but I had to come up with a new roadmap. And I came up with one that works beautifully for me, and one that I'm very happy with. It wasn't anticipated. So even though mapping it out, I believe is very important, you do have to realize that life happens. And
Mhm.
so, what if life happens? And thankfully, one of the reasons that I was able to develop my own roadmap was because I found a fantastic financial advisor and put me on the right track and solved those fears and concerns that I had and helped me to do it in a way that was not only best for me financially, but emotionally, it was also good for me. It helped me take control of my life and my situation when it was completely upended.
Yeah.
So, it's great to have a roadmap, but it's kind of like if you go on an actual road trip, and you have your map all mapped out, you know which highways you're going to take, and then suddenly you find out a bridge is out on
Mhm.
one of the major highways. You're going to have to get a new roadmap at that point because
Mhm.
it won't get you there. So life can happen,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
need to
and
be willing. Mhm.
I like to say in Minnesota, we have 2 seasons. We have construction season and winter.
Yes,
And I think when you're talking about construction season, there are going to be a lot of detours.
hmm,
You're going to have to be. Some are going to be slower, some might be new shortcuts that you just found out.
that's right.
You never know where the road is going to take you, but having that destination in mind, figuring out ways you can prepare yourself, but you
Yes,
also need to be aware and be adaptable for when things do change and it's out of
that's
your
right.
control.
Which is why I'm writing my book.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And
But,
I also like to say, while we're thinking about this analogy, which I absolutely love if you can't tell because I
yeah,
keep coming back to it. But your financial advisor, I think of as, the rest stops or the gas stations, right? You can't get anywhere without having regular check-ins.
that's
You're
right.
you're gonna run out of gas. You're gonna run
Mhm,
out and you're gonna be stuck on the side of the road. And so
mhm.
meeting with a financial advisor every so often, maybe yearly check-ins, to go over the roadmap and maybe, the gas station attendant, hence your financial advisor, they might know maybe some road closures. They
That's
might
right.
know some, potholes to be aware of or events to detour around the traffic, whatever it
Correct.
is. And so you really want to make sure that you're fueling up correctly and with the right gas too.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, I just think having a good financial advisor that you trust is paramount in retirement.
Mhm.
I think it's important when you're younger. They
Mhm.
help you get to retirement, and a good financial advisor is going to you know, help you plan financially so that you do have those finances set up so that retirement is not social security check to social security check. You
Mhm.
need to be able to live a full life when you retire and truly have it the way you want it.
Mhm.
There's so many options out there in the world that it's not a one size fits all. And you need to do what brings you joy and what brings you peace in your life.
Mhm.
And I think having those things set up financially lend itself to that. They
Yeah.
make retirement a much more peaceful situation, and not necessarily that everything is calm and quiet. That may not be what you want, but so that you don't have that anxiety and worry about, can I afford to do this? Am I doing the right thing? Am I going is my money going to last as long as I am? Because we are living
Mhm.
longer as a nation, and so we have to prepare for living longer. um, I think I've mentioned before, I don't have an expiration stamp on the bottom of my foot, and I
Mhm.
don't know of anyone else that does either. And so thinking that you're not going to live until you're in your 90s, I think is rather foolish, because we don't know how long we're going to live. And so
Mhm.
you want to make sure that your finances are set up so that you do live a comfortable, healthy retirement life.
Yeah, absolutely, Debbie. Well, this is such a fantastic episode, and I feel like we covered so much and such a great analogy. I mean, Debbie, you came up with that completely on your own, and I think it applies so well to retirement planning and that destination, but also the map that gets you there.
Yeah,
And there's just so much included in this. So, thank you for bringing that up. Any
you're
final
welcome.
thoughts before we finish today's episode?
Uh, Enjoy every day. Um, my mantra became several years ago, I choose joy. And
Mhm.
so I hope that and wish that for everyone. It certainly makes life a little bit more enjoyable when you are actively choosing joy. And
Absolutely.
I think a good financial advisor can help you do that. Take one worry off of your plate. But
Yes.
feel free to contact me at Retirement Solutions Group. My number is 866-247 5695. Once again, that's 866-247-5695.
Perfect. And what is your website, Debbi?
It is retirementsolutionsgroup.com. You can also find me on Facebook and YouTube channel,
Yes.
Spotify, Apple.
Yes, as always. Yes. Well, we have a great time just chatting
Yes,
and truly this podcast is so much fun for both of us and we love to
I
share
agree.
and we also love to hear from you guys as viewers and listeners. So,
Please.
comment, subscribe, send us messages. We would love to answer or any topic ideas that you might have too.
Oh,
That
I
would
would
be
love
fun.
that. I would love that.
All right.
Stay safe and stay warm.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Debbi, for this episode
Thank
of
you.
Retirement Your Way with our host, Debbi Marcum.